administration will believe in science. I am here to ask you to make certain that on Monday night we have the highest voter turnout for an Iowa caucus in the history of the state.
What happened in Iowa?
The Iowa Democratic Party has failed them terribly tonight.
This is an epic failure by the Iowa State Democratic Party.
As chair of the party, I apologize deeply.
We have experienced a delay in the results due to quality checks.
Some of the reporting was off.
The DNC has blamed inconsistencies in results,
largely due to the use of a malfunctioning app developed to make the process easier.
We still don't know the results.
I have been on hold for over an hour.
There's a real push right now in the Democratic Party to move more toward a primary-only system.
I think Iowa will do the country a favor. They're going to move to primary.
You do know this was your last caucus, right?
The 2020 Iowa caucus was kind of a disaster. Things went wrong, results weren't coming in, the app kind of glitched, phone lines were down. It was just a mess overall.
We are about to tweet out the caucus information from one of our caucuses that we attended to CNN because they can't get any information because all their apps and stuff have crashed.
And we were there to cover it. We're the newspaper for Wadsworth High School in Wadsworth, Ohio. We got the amazing opportunity to be at the 2020 Iowa caucuses and cover it from a reporter's point of view. We went to a couple different rallies, helped out with a couple different campaigns, and got to see 2 caucuses in action. It was a pretty fun trip overall. This is our experience.
It's a 5-day trip.
The Bruin is Wadsworth High School's student-run and student-organized newspaper. We put out 8 issues a year, and we put out 1 senior issue every year. It's a total of 9 issues. We have a printing of about 1,600 copies that goes around the school and the community, and then we also have our website, which we try to update at least 2, 3, 4 times a week with news stories that are happening around the school. We were recently invited to go to the Iowa caucus with Lordstown High School. It so happened that I knew one of the teachers there through a friend, and she said that she had 15 spots left on her bus for her school trip that was going. So we got to join along on the trip. It was kind of last minute. We only had, I think it was 3 weeks or so to plan the entire trip and collect the money, but it was an amazing time, and it turned out even better than we thought.
She wants to do a little bit of like a Skype class with you guys on how to, one, teach stories quickly, because her biggest problem is that people in England don't know what a caucus is. They don't have it. She's got like 2 or 3 minutes on the morning show to teach them why they should even be caring about these reporters in Iowa across the world. Right?
One of the great opportunities that came from this trip was the way we connected with the various media outlets. Good Morning Britain, who asked for us to look out for locations for them to do their own shooting when they flew in from London to Iowa. And in exchange, they did a little Skype chat with us about learning how to interview politicians.
This is Kate Howling. She is with Good Morning Britain. She's going to talk to us a little bit about her experience on interviewing politicians, and she's going to teach us everything that we need to know so we're professionals while we're out there in Iowa, right?
I really can't promise that, but I can do that. So I approached your teacher a couple of weeks ago on Twitter after learning that we were going to be going to Iowa. We knew we were going, but I knew I was part of the team at that stage. And I was really interested in you guys going out there, and just was wondering if there's any way we could kind of get some info from you, and offered that you could learn from us, well, limited kind of experience I've got with politicians. The first thing I'd say is that when I first interviewed my first kind of Prime Minister that I spoke to, I was incredibly nervous, barely could get the words out. So it's perfectly fine to be quite nervous and to just kind of ask. Sometimes I would just say it's a good idea to give them a kind of a curveball, if that's the right analogy, you know, a question they're not expecting, something that, you know, will surprise them and will make them actually think for a second and away from the set pat sound bites that they're used to giving. I don't know if you guys know about Theresa May. One of the questions was, what's the naughtiest thing you've ever done? And she came up with sort of ridiculously boring answer. And last week someone said, tell me something about yourself people don't know. And that's quite a nice question as well, because it kind of elicits, hopefully, something that would surprise your readers.
Thank you, really do appreciate this, and hopefully we can help you while we're out there.
The Akron Beacon Journal reached out to us about our trip after they heard about it. They offered to come in and speak with our students, teach them a little bit about how they write stories, and then they offered us the opportunity to potentially write a story or two for their paper.
Cheryl here is going to talk to you in general and what she expects for their paper, what they're looking for, kind of ideas. And you guys, especially going to Iowa, can help ask questions. Jennifer is going to pull out individual students to start interviewing them and asking them questions.
It's really exciting for our class to get to have those resources and to be seen by a much larger audience, because in the past we're kind of just within the school, and I feel like this year has given us a lot of opportunities to branch out more and to be read and seen by a lot more people in our community and others. I feel like that's a really good opportunity for us.
Cheryl here is going to talk to you briefly about what it's like to be an editor, just tell a little bit about our job, and I guess what a day at the Akron Beacon Journal is like for her.
Being an editor is interesting because, and I think we were talking about this too, you want to have I come into every day, hopefully have a good plan on here's the stories we're going to cover today and the photos we're going to get taken. And then you got to be willing to be very flexible and change. It's kind of that balancing act of having a good plan, but then being willing to react very quickly and change.
The insight that Akron Beacon Journal gave us whenever they came in was very helpful. They told us about their experience, about what it's like to work for one of Ohio's biggest newspapers, and what it's kind of like to be a journalist, and how they got into journalism in general. And they got to see kind of what we were doing and help us come up with some ideas on what we want to write for them. And in the end, we got a couple of our stories published in the Beacon Journal, and we got a story all about us. So I think it was pretty cool.
We also got to work with News Channel 5 out of Cleveland. They came in and did a little story about us as well.
Primary election season officially begins with the Iowa caucuses. Dozens of high school students from Northeast Ohio will watch it unfold in Iowa.
Before the sun came up this morning, about 50 students arrived at Wadsworth High before hitting the road to Iowa.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I mean, we're a journalism class. It's the best opportunity that we're probably going to get.
Several of the kids are members of the Wadsworth school newspaper, the Bruin.
We were also invited to be on the air at Wadsworth Community Radio. We got a chance to tell the community exactly what we were planning to do, and we did that the day before we even left on the trip.
Get the honorary video.
Evans.
Hello again.
Morning, everybody.
It's 12 minutes after 7 o'clock right here on a Thursday morning, 97.1 Wadsworth Community Radio, and our parade of guests here continue this morning.
In the studio with us, we have the Wadsworth Bruin Editor-in-Chief Hallie Schaefer, staff writer Emily Branberry, along with advisor Eric Heffinger.
Getting that experience of journalism, like what it's really like to be in those kinds of situations.
For your one candidate, you did your research, made a PowerPoint, and then we presented those to the class so that everyone was kind of well informed on each of the people without having to do all of that research themselves. It's really a great opportunity, and it kind of does make us feel a little bit more professional and taken more seriously.
That morning, we all met up at the high school at 5:30. News Channel 5 was actually there, and they interviewed a couple of us. After that, we all got into our cars and left to go to the Streetsboro Walmart, where we met up with the other schools, Lordstown and Newberry. Then we got on bus and we were headed to Iowa.
Do hand motions or something.
What'd you?
This is why we came. World's largest truck stop.
It's just terrifying.
Should I? We should like raid someone tonight with that. That's what I'm saying.
It says the state bird is a flying pig.
And the state flower is corn. It's cute.
I know.
We're in Iowa. We're on a pig. We interviewed a couple of kids from Lordstown, Newberry about voting and younger generations to go along with our Gen Z story. The bus ride was about 13 hours after stops and everything, but it wasn't that bad.
No. Probably rad.
Oh, I'm scared. After we arrived at the hotel, we got to meet up with volunteers from the Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders campaign. Marcus from the Joe Biden campaign told us like what we were going to be doing while we were there.
Welcome to Iowa, and most importantly, welcome to the front lines. You guys are going to be the hands and feet of Joe Biden. And I mean that in the sense, you guys are going to be out there talking to people, on the phone, at the doors, explaining why Joe Biden needs to, and hopefully will be, the next president of the United States. And perhaps maybe you're doing this because campaigns or politics interest you. And it's some of the most frustrating work I've ever done.
Today we're at Bernie's office and 4 of us got to work with Bernie. 2 of us are out in the neighborhoods going on knocking doors, and today I was doing phone calls. I got to call people who are supporting Bernie, reminding them to get out and caucus on Monday. It's just reminding them that caucusing is really important in Iowa, and it's just been crazy to see how everything in this campaign works and everything it takes to actually run a campaign.
We are putting little stickers on these pamphlets, so when we hand them out, when we go around, people can look at these stickers and it'll show them the website they need to go to find their caucus location to vote on Monday.
So today we are in the Biden campaign headquarters in Des Moines, and we are about to start calling people all around the state, and it's going to be a fun ride.
In joining some folks on the riser.
So the risers are the ones that you sit in the behind the candidate.
You guys look decked out and enthusiastic.
Yeah.
If you guys are here for it, awesome.
Hey guys, we're here at the Ward rally right behind the stage, so we're gonna get front row seats to see her, so we're so excited.
And a little bit about why I'm in this race, and then we'll just take as many questions as we can so I can hear from you.
Do you plan to eradicate student loan debt, and with what funds, and how do you plan to get those funds?
Oh, Ashley. Let's start with how to pay for it, okay? It's time for a wealth tax in America.
Rally was awesome. That was actually my first rally that I've ever went to. I've never been to another political rally, and it was just pretty cool to be there, and especially because we were on the risers. Even though we didn't get to see her like face on, it was really cool to be pretty close up. She seemed very energetic about her campaign and very hopeful that she would win. And her dog was the cutest thing, let's be real.
And give a shout out to some high school students from my home state. Is that all right? Wadsworth High School, where you at, baby? Where you at, baby? I had to pause for that. Shout out to them young people. I'm glad you guys told me that actually just change the world and do good
Almost all new income and wealth goes to the top 1%. That is going to change. Half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. We can cancel all student debt. We are taking on the entire political establishment. Both the Republican establishment and the Democratic
Chicks.
So we went to the Pete rally on the second full day that we were there, and out of the 3 rallies we went to, it was definitely my favorite. So we ended up waiting in line for the Pete rally for like 2-3 hours. While we were waiting in line, we got to talk to a congressman and a shadow senator from DC. They were both there advocating for the 51st state to be DC.
Would you mind if one of my students interviewed you for just
No, I'd love it.
Has caused like the shift that now candidates are mostly targeting young people.
You guys coming out and doing this. Better to be in an undecided election, I think, than it is to be in the kind of election we had last time.
And then one of our staff writers, Bree, she got to talk to the ACLU. She got to talk to them about women's rights because she was writing a story about that.
That I just said. Right here in Iowa, and I can be with my kids and my grandchildren. Tell me, what's the value of that? Pete doesn't have a chance against Trump. Joe doesn't have a chance against Trump. Bernie doesn't have a chance against Trump. Warren doesn't have a chance against Trump. So maybe if like all 4 of them combine their forces as one candidate, maybe then. So, but it would be 4 of them. That ain't gonna happen.
And I'm here one more time to look you in the eye and to ask you for your support. The good news is you don't have to choose between the best way to govern well and the best way to win big. We are ready for democracy that is common sense this effort, but I'm also here mindful that even at this late hour, we work on this to bring change to this country. And we're glad you're here.
Okay, since you believe climate change is a national security threat, what do you plan to do to help this issue?
We need a national project to confront climate change. This can't just be another political tug of war. It's too important. It's existential. If the scientific deadline is 2030, that means that the real deadline is 2020, because if we don't have a president who believes in climate science by next year, we're never going to make it. That's part of what's at stake in making sure that we win in November.
Out of the 3 rallies we went to, it was definitely my favorite. I thought that it was cool that he didn't really have a lot of people talk for him.
Mayor, these guys are student journalists here. They have a couple questions for you. And I'm with CBS. It's like a little reunion. Thanks for joining us.
So we're a student newspaper from actually Wadsworth, Ohio, near Akron. We were wondering if we could ask you a question really quick. Alright, so it's apparent that you have the support of the older generations with your campaign. What steps are you taking to ensure that you get the support from the younger generation? What does that look like?
Well, here's my outreach and here's my message to a younger generation. It's the longer you're planning to be here, the more you have at stake in the choices that are about to be made around climate, around gun violence, around making sure the economy works for us. We've got to make sure we're acting now because we're running out of time. And I'm ready to build a multi-generational coalition to get those things done, and eager for people, some of them not even old enough to vote, but certainly old enough to volunteer and spread the message, to be part of delivering that change. Okay.
That's freaking insane. Yeah, I was shaking the entire time, and that's why I was kind of hoping he didn't shake my hand because my hands are so sweaty right now. So, but yeah, pretty excited.
I kind of wish I would have given him a hug. I gave him a hug. I wanted to give him a hug.
It was very nice of him to take the time to do it. You have to ask one question about how he has the older generation support. How is he going to ensure that he's getting the younger generation support as well? And he spent about like a minute or so just answering that question. He was very kind about it, and yeah, it was really kind of him.
Going to the Joe Biden rally, it was very crowded in there, and I've never seen that much press in a single area. It was really hard to find a spot, it was really hard to see him, but it was really fun at the same time to see the former Vice President of the United States. A couple of congresswomen went up and spoke to the crowd and introduced him, and eventually Biden did come up after a little while, and they really set the stage for him, and they got the crowd rallied, and everybody was excited. And then when Biden came out, the crowd went ecstatic.
I got criticized for saying why I was running. I said I was running because we had to save the soul of the nation. Kids off in grade school to learn how to duck and cover and run zigzag down the hallway. That is moral bankruptcy when you allow that to happen. And at the Pentagon, in a room with our flag officers and generals, he looked them in the eye and referred to them as losers, dopes, and babies. We're not going to take any money from fossil fuel. But by causing, well, I'll tell you what. It's not even he or she will be above the law, period.
How will Vice President Biden uphold the needs of Ohioans if he is elected?
He is focused on the jobs of the future. And one of the things I've been focused on and Ohio needs to keep focusing on are the jobs of the future. And how do we prepare education, research, and all of that to get Ohio prepared for those jobs, and electric vehicles and artificial intelligence and additive manufacturing. He's got plans for all that.
We are streaming the Super Bowl currently legally and listening to music on the bus.
So like, yeah, that's it.
Knock knock. Is Sarah Scobie available? Hi. I'm a volunteer for Joe Biden here in Des Moines. How are you today? I am well. Great. I am here supporting Joe because I know he's the only candidate who could beat Donald Trump and unite the country on day one.
The way that he presents his policy.
Party with Amy Klobuchar.
Look, we're right. That's Hef, that's Jill, that's Hallie.
We're famous.
That's where we are, Micah.
We're famous.
We're on the New York
We're
Times.
famous, baby.
So at the end of the day, Micah and Abby got to do a Skype interview with Channel 5 News, so that was cool, and they just talked about all the happenings of the trip so far.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, first of all, just tell me how you guys are feeling tonight. You guys have been pretty busy.
We are writing a lot. Like I've personally been doing a video each day we've been on this trip, and it's been spending a lot of time editing the video and taking each and every shot.
I'm the online editor, so my whole job is like editing stories and posting them on our website, so every single story has to like go to me and I have to post it. But it's also extremely surreal because we're experiencing things that like no other kid our age really experiences. Like we were front row at the Bernie Sanders rally. Like I gotta shake his hand. Like I gotta shake Bernie Sanders' hand.
Perfect, guys. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and please go get some sleep.
Yes, we need it.
All right, have a good night.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Here's a birthday present.
Happy birthday!
There's a mug in here.
No, there's not.
Who's not?
Oh, he pulls out the gift. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank
So Hef's birthday was actually the day of the caucus, so we secretly planned everything for his birthday for like a few weeks before, and we got him a mug that said editor on it. We wrote him a special message on the back, and we got him a card. We got him some gift cards.
It's monkeys. What? Why you guys give me $500? This is the right amount. Thank you. Guys, you didn't have to do all this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We love Hef so much, and he's always given us the best opportunities to be real journalists, and that's why we appreciate him so much, because he treats us like real people rather than just kids.
So this morning, myself as well as the Newberry High School students went over to a coffee shop in West Des Moines called Sweetwater's to meet up with presidential candidate and Donald Trump challenger Joe Walsh. And there he did a general meet and greet, which is his style. Matter of fact, I was able to sit down and interview him for about 20 minutes, and he said that if he becomes a big name, that's what he'll do. He'll have these intimate talks. He's not into the big rallies.
Look, I taught American government and American history. Donald Trump is exactly what our founding fathers feared. He's an ignorant, dishonest guy who wants to be a king and a dictator. We ran away from a king when we started this country. He's unfit. And I was hoping another better Republican would say that. Nobody did, so I stepped up. Donald Trump says that climate change is a hoax. It's not. And unfortunately, too many of my Republicans just imitate what Trump says.
I am calling this caucus to order. I am your temporary chair. My name is Kate. The first order of business is we need to elect a permanent chair. As temporary chair, I am automatically nominated. Are there any other nominations?
Today we went back to the Bernie campaign where we tried a mock caucus where we learned what we were going to be witnessing tonight. What we did was we all separated into groups and we picked a category, and then we all voted on it, and we learned how people persuade each other and try to get each other to choose their side. Alex was a volunteer who was telling us how and what he does to prepare for the caucus and why he supports Bernie and thinks he is an important candidate.
Everybody, my name is Alexandre José Andrade, but you can call me Alex. I kind of knew Bernie before he was running in 2016. Vermont was this really cool state where they had like great health care and a Democratic socialist who was running things. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I keep hearing about like capitalism and everything around me. What's this Democratic socialism? I kind of want like free healthcare. My family in Brazil have free healthcare, socialized healthcare, and they worry about me here being able to afford stuff, but I don't have to worry about them. It's kind of like reverse of what you think.
Several of us went to Biden's campaign, one of their branches, and we campaigned with them. We did some cold calling with them, which is just basically calling people on the phone and asking if they're going to go to the caucus and vote. We met with 2 congresswomen. 2 of the people included Lisa Blunt Rochester, who was the congresswoman from Delaware, the only one they have there.
I'm a journalist from Ohio, and I'm working with my school's newspaper. So I'm specifically writing a piece about women in politics. Okay, so have you had any experiences like discrimination, becoming a woman in politics? Have you ever faced that?
I had never run before, and I actually had to run against 5 guys in a primary. It was an open primary in a seat that had always been held by men. So when I won, I was the first woman and first person of color. And so a lot of times, even running, you have to say to people, we can't do things the traditional way.
We went to West Des Moines, downtown, and we went to Zombie Burger and got really, really good food, but it's unfortunate because they're only in Des Moines. And then we went to some boutiques and shops. We went to Ray Guns, and we got some cool sweatshirts. Some of us got matching sweatshirts, and they had a lot of other sayings on shirts as well.
We're going
to Marv's Music!
We're going to Marv's Music! Oh my god!
And then we went to Marv's Music, and some people bought some records.
Seth, what'd you get?
Got a Green Day album and a Phil Collins album. It's pretty fire. It was like my life.
They had a large variety of different decades of music.
We got some for you.
Oh my gosh! New stuff here. My heart.
And then we went to a boutique, and I got some gifts for some people back at home.
Isn't it pretty?
Chris Steele, bowling state champion. Chris Steele and his bodyguard, Kate Messam, has showed up at the 2020 Iowa State Caucus, signing some autographs here for some special fans, and it's going to be a great night. That's like the price of a Lamborghini.
Thank each other and talk to each other. It's really great.
And at the caucus, we got to experience real life, the process and how quick things can change.
Not me, us! Not me, us!
64, you've all seen the picture. Hold me back, he's fighting for our rights. Bernie's the man to beat Trump. We're all here to support him. Hopefully we can get this kick-started across the country here in Iowa. First caucus of the nation, 2020 Democratic Caucuses. Thank you.
In the first 20 minutes, both Biden and Yang, their campaigns were invalid, and so they just got up and left because they didn't feel like they needed to vote for their second candidate. With them 2 leaving, the last 4 were sending delegates, so it was pretty quick.
Why did you pick Elizabeth Warren to support at the caucus tonight?
I've been a fan of Elizabeth Warren since she was running the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau.
I see that you brought your kids. Why do you think it's important to educate the younger generation on why it's important to be involved with your politics?
I think in light of current affairs, it's very important that kids understand how democracy works and that it's important that we are active in that democracy, otherwise it dies.
How are you feeling about the results after tonight?
I'm pleased with it. I'm more pleased with the fact that it was very sociable and friendly.
And then we went to another caucus where it wasn't as quick and people were still voting. We left during the middle of it. It was very interesting to see that Pete Buttigieg was actually at the front running, and I was surprised to see that Bernie was not and Biden was not, because from the polling it seemed like they were pretty far ahead, and then seeing the caucuses firsthand, they actually weren't. So that was pretty interesting to see.
Here's a climate change story you guys should write for the paper. Why is high school sports following the same calendar that it's followed for 70 years?
Okay, so currently it is 11:40 at night. It is 12:40 back at home. We are still waiting for the results. They have 0% of the precincts results, so we're just waiting for those to come in. They had a flaw in their system, so they're just backed up trying to get the results. So we don't really know when we'll get that. We're currently writing a couple stories, and I think we're posting those tonight. But so far we're just waiting around and seeing the results of the caucuses.
What did you ask? Can I take a photo of this workstation?
Sure, we got a lot of matching shirts today. We went to the store and found these American Youth Journalist shirts.
Oh yeah, of course.
Stay there all day. Say that again. We can't blow it. He can't find out.
Oh, I missed. Do we want reopening our papers? No. The answer is no.
Through all the papers.
Other than this is like it's gonna be a 10-minute video by the time she gets it open.
Oh my god!
Wait. Oh my gosh.
That's sweet. Hey, who took this picture?
No, who did that?
It's Petey.
Jones. Pete!
She's letting you know you're in here.
It's cool. It's something different.
Overall, I thought the trip was a really great opportunity. I think it was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire life, because I've always really been into politics and writing, so being able to combine that in like a real world experience, it really showed me that I do want to pursue journalism in the future. So that was really like a big defining moment for me, because I kind of made up my mind that that's what I want to do.
Overall, I think the trip was a really good success. We got to do a lot of cool things that we wouldn't have gotten to do. I mean, think about it. What other high school newspaper gets to go to Iowa for the caucuses, to cover it? That's just a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing that most people don't get to do in high school, and some people don't even get to do at all. So I'm very proud of the work we did and all that we accomplished, and happy that we got to go on this trip, because we got a lot of good insight and experience and got to put out a really good result in the end. So it was an amazing opportunity, all thanks to Mr. Hevinger.
What I really like about Hef is he opens everything up for discussion. Like, nothing's really a definitive answer. Everything can be right, and it also can be wrong. And that's what we talk about. It's mostly when he teaches not just, this is the way to do it, this is what you're doing. It's, this is why we do it sometimes, but here's when we don't do it. And here's how it could be fixed, or something like that. And he just is open to any idea, really. That's the biggest thing. And he really stresses everything to be on us instead of rather on him. He wants us to have our experiences and do everything on our own versus just relying on him for everything.
We love Hef so much, and he's always given us the best opportunities to be real journalists, and that's why we appreciate him so much, because he treats us like real people rather than just kids.
Thanks, Hef. Thank you, Hef.
Thank you, Hef. Thanks, Hef.
Thanks, Hef. Thank you, Hef.
Thanks, Hef.
Thanks, Hef.
Thank you, Hef.
Thanks, Hef.
Thanks, Hef.
Thank you, Hef.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Hef.
Because they could open their bananas in the morning faster than us. But I learned their technology. They can't beat me.
All right, this is Chris Steele coming at you. All right, so
bowling champion.
this is Road to States 2020.
It's a song that one of our organizers wrote. It's the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Eli Alburn, credit. Feel free to take a look at it.
And then afterwards, we had Tourette's. Oh my god, I literally pulled Abby. Okay.
What?
6-inch stubs, 12-inch stubs,
Yeah.
whatever stuff you want.
Tell us.
Order stuff that they already have.
What?
Your own stuff, because it's Subway
Are you
stuff.
gonna get some red?
Families that are just like the one that I grew up in, that were just trying to make a good life for their families and make their lives harder.
Baby, how you feel? Feel good as hell.
Should get like a nice, fancy bar of soap to use
on
tonight.
just 2 albums, so somebody else
We're definitely not doing that.
Axel, how are you feeling about Bachelor Night?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited!
Be following the candidates around.